Siyanamukela ohlelweni lwe-Ithala Edu platform enilethulelwa ngezilokotho ezinhle Ithala kanye ne-GoDigitalSA Foundation. Thamelani izifundo ze-mathematics, i-accounting, isiZulu ulimi lwasekhaya, isiNgisi, i-FAL, i-physical science, i-geography, ezobuchwepheshe, i-computer applications technology kanye namaklasi e-learner wellness okungukuzilolonga ngokomqondo kanye nomzimba. Lezi zifundo zethulwa nsuku zonke kusukela ngoMsombuluko kuya ngoLwesihlanu kuqala ngehora lesine kuya kwelesihlanu u4 kuya ku5 ntambama nangoMgqibelo kusukela ligamanxe ihora lesishiyagalombili 8:30 kuze kugamanxe ihora lokuqala emini 1:30. Zithameleni futhi lezi zifundo emsakazweni Ukhozi FM njalo ngoLwesine kusukela ngo9 kuya ku10 ebusuku. Ningangena ekhasini lethu lika-Facebook elithi GoDigitalSA_movement noma kwi-YouTube uthi GoDigitalSA Foundation. Siyethemba nizolijabulela lolu hlelo oluhlose ukunifundisa futhi lulekelele kulokho enikufunda ezikoleni zenu. Luthokozeleni-ke lolu hlelo nimeme nabo bonke abanye abafundi bebanga le-12 grade 12 ukuze nabo bazuze kulo futhi nonke nicijeleke ukuphumelela kwizivivinyo zenu zokuphela konyaka.
Sanbonani, good morning grade 12 learners. I hope nivukile and ready to listen to isifundo sanamhlanje. Mrs. Bia, I'm doing English first additional language. And namhlanje we are doing the poem. Our poem is to learn how to speak. Kusho ukuthi la muntu ufunda wenze njani ukukhuluma. Masiqala nje sibuka i-topic to learn how to speak. Kune-ellipses lapha. Yini ellipses? Ellipses are those 3 dots. 1, 2, 3. We call them ellipses. I-ellipses ichaza ukuthini? It's there. It's part of figure of speech. Isuke isho ukuthi into is ongoing. Something is ongoing. Kuchaza ukuthini lokho ukuthi iyaqhubeka. Okay. Before see analyze and everything, we have to read the poem. Fanele sifunde. The poem in 33 lines. Okay. It's a free verse poem. It's free verse because ayinawo ama-stanzas. There are no stanzas. Angithi siyazi ama-stanzas ahlukanisa stanza 1, stanza 2. La it's just a free verse. It's go to shoot in other words, it's free flowing. Iyaqhubeka nje. Let me read the poem first. I guess ifundi. To Learn How to Speak by Jeremy Cronin. To learn how to speak with the voices of the land. To pass the speech in its rivers. To catch in the inarticulate grunt, stammer, call, cry, babble, tongues not, a sense of the stoniness of these stones, from which all words are cut. To trace with the tongue wagon trails, saying the suffix of their eggs in kale, pan, fontaine, in watery names that confirm the dryness of their ways. To visit the places of occlusion, or the leak in a flay bank dawn. To bury my mouth in the pit of your arm, in the planetarium, pectoral, begging to the knob of time. Down there, close to the water table, to feel the full moon as it drums at the back of my throat, its cow-skinned vowel. To write a poem with words like I'm telling you, stompy, stick fast, holoven, shongololo, just boom bang, just to understand the least inflections. To voice without swallowing syllables, born in the shacks, or catch the 5:15 5:15 Johannesburg train. To reach the low chant of the mines gangs, mineral glow of our people's unbreakable resolve. To learn how to speak with the voices of this land. Ikhuluma ngani le poem? Ngithe it's a free verse. There are no stanzas. So there is no division. It's just free flow. Ikhuluma ngani ke yona? Ithi to learn how to speak. So lana kukhulunywa ngomuntu ozama ukufunda a language. So kodwa futhi ikhuluma ngani? There's a connection, kune connection la. Kuyahlangana, there's a connection between language and the culture, between the language and the culture. And culture, and then it's South Africa, see last pillar in South Africa. We have different cultures. Kune diversity. Sihlukene. Ma cultures zethu awafani in as much as nama languages zethu angafani. But sonke siphila la in this continent, which is South Africa. Yeah, lana ke Jeremy, what is he trying to show us? So this poem, it celebrates and recognizes the diversity of culture in South Africa. It is kombisan. It looks at the need. It's kombisan. It looks at the need. It looks at the need to learn, to communicate using varied languages. It looks at the need to learn, to communicate, to learn ukuthi ukwazi ukukhuluma to communicate using different languages or using varied or different languages. Ama languages akhulunywa eSouth Africa maningi. We have isiZulu, Sotho, Xhosa, Sepedi, Venda, English, Afrikaans, you name it. So ahlukene vele ama languages, but sonke siphila la. When masibuka le poem, looking at line 1 no line 2, no line 32 and 33, they are the same. Line 1 no line 2, line 1 and line 2 uthini? Line 1 line 2 uthi to learn how to speak with the voices of the land. Which land? But to learn how to speak with the voices of the land. That is line 1 and line 2. Refrain uyaphinda because masisiya lapha ku line 32 and 33. Uthi ke line 32 33 to learn how to speak with the voices of this land. So uyabona manje sekuspecified lapha kuthela ku line 2 uthe with the voices of the land. The land lapha line 2 the land emphasize in ugcizelela in, it emphasizes the need, isidingo, it emphasizes the need to understand one another language, the need to understand njoba ethi the voices of the land, to understand one another language. Okay, and then bese kuthi lapha ku 33 uthi with the voices of this land. Usa specific ke lapha upoet usakhuluma nga this land, this land angithi kuno the good line 2, this land specific usiyachaza ke manje ukuthi ukhuluma ngayiphi this land, ukhuluma ngayiphi this land, meaning the land which is our land, which is South Africa. Okay, ititle to learn, angithi learn is a verb, angithi ukufunda, uyafunda. So but kune infinite verb lapha to. Sesiphindela manje kwi language. To is an infinite verb. To learn. Kusho ukuthi chaza ukuthini lokho? To learn kusho ukuthi wenzekani la? It is an ongoing nature of learning. Shuthi ukufunda. Kuyathiwa sithini ngesizulu konje? Sesithi umuntu ufunda kanjani? Aze afe. So learning is an ongoing process. Ongoing nature of learning. Ngeke uthi usuwazi yonke into, ufunda uze uyofa. So that is why ngithi kune infinite verb lapho. And then nale ellipses yakhona, these 2-3 dots ekhombisayo ukuthi learning is an ongoing process. And then lo sebenzisa lo wa-to, which is an infinite verb. Ukhuluma ngani lo wa-to? Ukhuluma ngama unending possibilities. Mangikhuluma ngama unending possibilities of learning and communication ukuthi ukufunda kuyaqhubeka, akumi. Unending possibilities of learning. Awusoze uthi usuyazi. Unending possibilities of learning. It is an ongoing process. Akumi ukuthi hayi sengiyazi, ukuya kwenze njani, kuyaqhubeka. Lana ilanguage ke lana angithi ke isikhathi esiningi ilanguage ekhulunywayo universal language isingisi angithi, because wonke umuntu fanele asikhulume isingisi. But ke kukhona la we have language of blacks and the language of white people in South Africa. Thina sikhuluma isiZulu, bona is either bakhuluma isingisi or bakhuluma Afrikaans. So ama languages ethu, that is where they differ. So fanele sonke sifunde. All right. Ngitheke to learn how to speak ikhuluma nge ongoing, focuses on the progression. To progress, uqhubekela phambili. Progression and the similarity in speech. Okay, progression and similarity. Kushuthi cishe kufane. Similarity in speech. Maskuluma. Okay, acquisition of speech. 1. Okunye futhi i-transport. Kade kukhulunywa ngama-minors la sazokhuluma. I-transport. Okunye futhi ama-stages. Ukhulume la ngama-flow of rivers. Ama-stages la. Okhuluma when you learn i-language. Ifanise nama-stages of a river. Stages of a river or time periods okay, and then each of these konke lokhu akubalile la, speech, transport, stages of a river, kukhuluma ngani? Each of these akhuluma nge-progression. They celebrate i-progression, uqhubeka, ne-diversity kanye ne-growth e-South Africa. We have land, khulume nge-land, ngendawo wakhuluma ngama-rivers, imfula wakhuluma ngama-stones, amatshe. There is a mention of stones, and then wakhuluma futhi nama-wagon trails. Ama-wagon trails. Sizobe sesibuyela ke ukuthi why ekhuluma ngalezi zinto. Ama-stones, ama-rivers, ama-wagon trails, kanye ne-land. Kushuthi lana kune connection. Khona ukuhlangana. There is a connection of land, language to land. Okay? Kune connection la. Iyahlangana language, ihlangana ne-land. So uthi kanjani. And kanjani. And also i-progression, there is kune movement la. Movement of people from one place to another. Baya move. And about as they move. Angithi umuntu mayihlala la, mayise move, kade khuluma le language. Ngizongilinganisa nje umuntu ade ehlala eDurban and then usefika eJohannesburg useyashintsha ukukhuluma kwakhe sekunomara nobani angithi ke manje usemuvile njengoba ngisho ukuthi there is a movement of people from one place to the next, so kune diversity ke manje of culture and language. All right, let's look at the lines ke now. Let's go through the poem line by line ukuze si understand kahle because it's long. Line 1 no line 2, he says to learn how to speak with the voices, of the land. And then voices of the land, yini like voices of the land? Abantu abahlukene, it's different people. Bonke la abantu bafunda ini, bayafunda and bakhuluma language. It's different people, and njengoba be different, nama cultures abo. It's different people. Nabo futhi in as much as be different, nama cultures abo azoba different because umuntu nomuntu is unique. Angithi you are unique, you are a unique individual. In other words, akekho umuntu ofana nomunye, wonke umuntu unique. So it's different people with different cultures and also different languages. Nenendlela ukukhuluma phela ayizofana. So ama languages, they are also going to be different. And uyashokela to learn how to speak with the voices of the land. The land. The land meaning to emphasize the need, isdingo to understand one another language. The land. There is a need. Kunesidingo la to understand. Finally, understand one another language. Umuntu nomuntu fanele understand language yomunye umuntu, and no language is better than the other because sonke siphila la eMzansi. So as phila la eMzansi, we have to reach a compromise phela. Ukuthi hayi mina angisoze nje ngasikhuluma isiNgisi, mina ngumZulu. Yes, umZulu, but there are times where you are forced ukuthi fanele usikhulume isiNgisi because umozothi nje hayi ngimile sizulwini, then we are closing ama opportunities for yourself. Akusizi ukuba nenkani. Okay, and then bese ngizojumpa nje kancane ngibele lapha ku line 33 ukuthi ke u line 33 usuhlukeneke no line 2 because uthi wona this land usenjani la, use more specific, usekhuluma nga this land la, he is being more specific. In other words, uyachaza ukuthi ngikhuluma nga this land. Which land is that? Land yakuphi? Yase South Africa. This land meaning our South African land. Okay. Voices of the land. With the voices of the land. The voices, yini voice? Voice, angithi uyakhuluma. Voices of the land. Ukhuluma ngani la? Lapha ku line 2 when he talks about the voices of the land. Ukhuluma ngani? Ukhuluma about different ways that the different languages or that it talk about the different ways that the different language users express themselves. Voices of the land. Ukhuluma ngani? Ngendlela ezahlukene esikhuluma ngazo, different ways that the different languages express themselves, that the different languages express themselves. Indlela yethu yokukhuluma injani? Ayifani because ama cultures ethu they are diverse. Ama cultures ethu nawo futhi anjani? Ahlukene. Okay, going to line 3. He says to pass the speech in its rivers. Pass. What is pass? Pass, it is a verb. To pass is a word or part of a sentence grammatically. But lana uyisebenzise as a personification. To pass the speech in its rivers. To pass the speech in its rivers. To pass. Now your foot, it's an infinite verb. To pass. To pass the speech, it's an infinite verb. To pass the speech in its rivers. Kusho ukuthini la? Kusho ukuthi i-speaker la or i-poet, what is he trying to do? He wishes to explain. Uyasichazela la the way of speaking of other people. Ukuthi abantu mabekhuluma bakhuluma kanjani in the country, blacks and whites, in particular ama-Afrikaners. Angithi ene khona ama-blacks, khona ama-whites, and then khona labakhuluma Afrikaans. Then we are passing the speech in its rivers. It's angithi umfula, ngiyabona umfula mangabe ugeleza, ngithi when the river flows, angithi sithi umfula uyageleza nanka amanzi ayehla. As umfula ugeleza, that is why lana there is a personification. Ukhuluma sengazuthi ene, he says to pass the speech in its rivers. Engathi uthi lo kwehla kwamanzi as the river flows. Ukhuluma ngani? It refers to the flow of language from the person speaking the language. So pass in its rivers. Speech in its rivers. It's like there is a flow in its rivers. Joba umfula ugeleza ehlamanzi. Ne language nayo it flows. It flows kanjani language? It flows when mangabe sikhuluma, when you speech, when you talk, one person speaking to the other. The rivers refers to the flow of language. Okay. And then line 4, atin, to catch in the inarticulate grant. Articulate is when ukhulum. Then inarticulate should akhulumeki. To inarticulate grant. To catch. Na infinitive. Local esebenzisa nje this infinitive verb. To catch. To pass. To trace. To visit. To bury. To write. To understand. To voice. To learn. This is as we progress with a poem, siyayibona le infinite. Nalana ke le infinitive verb. Nalana ku line 4 we says to catch. To catch ukubamba ngithi. To catch in the inarticulate. Inarticulate, when you are inarticulate shuthi akukhulumeki. To grasp is ukubamba, and then inarticulate. If it's inarticulate, it means you can't speak. Akukhulumeki, you can't speak. You are tongue-tied. You are tongue-tied. More tongue-tied, usuke ungakwazi ukwenza njani ukhulume, you can't speak. That is why ekhuluma ngo-grant. Umuntu ma grant is like uyabona because akhulumeki. It says you are tongue-tied, you can't speak. So kwenzekani la? Awukhulumeki, why? Because you don't understand the language. Awuyifundile, awuyazi. But as abantu bekhuluma, you are picking up bits and pieces which in as much as ingiyezwa ukuthini kodwa mhlambe uchaza ukuthi sikubona kanjalo lapha. You are picking up bits, uyabamba lapha nalapha. You are picking up bits of speech as umuntu ekhuluma while others are speaking. Uyamlalela umuntu uthi okay, mhlambe uchaza ukuthi awumunye ke uze azalinganisa ngezandla while others are speaking. Uyabamba lapha nalapha. Okay. Picking up bits of speech while others are speaking their language. Are speaking i-language yabo. Their language. Yikho nje kwazi kwa-developer lo afana kalo. Fana kalo nayazi ngithi sazofika kuyona bekhuluma ngosongololo lapha. And then you are picking up bits of speech while others are speaking their language. Uyabamba ukuthi uchaza ukuthi. Kodwa futhi akekho umuntu omfundisayo. No one okufundisayo. Now uyayibambela ukuthi mhlambe uchaza ukuthi. Lokho engizwayo mhlambe kuukuthi mhlambe echaza ukuthi. Uzobona lapha ku line 5 lento engiyichazayo. Uma sethi stammer, call, cry, babble, tongue's not, a sense of the stoniness of these stones from which all words are cut. What is to stammer? Kustammerisha ukuba namalimi. Ukuba namalimi uyangingiza. That is to stammer, ungingiza. Why do you ngingiza? Because we are stuttering in speech. Because our uzothini. So he's talking about to stammer. Stammer, you can stammer because I understand. You are stuttering, uyangingiza la. You are stuttering in speech because kwenziwa yini awuyazi le language. But i-aim ithini lapha i-topic ithe to learn how to speak. Nengane encane nayo ayivele iqale ikhulume nje. Iqale ibhablishe because now kuthe stammer, call, cry, babble, tongues knot, a sense of the stoniness of these stones. Okay. And as you speak, you call. Ulana ama words, cry, call. Ahlukene ama syllables. Uzama ukuhlanganisa ukuthi i-language fanele ngithi ukuthi njengengane encane, ingane encane mayiqala ukukhuluma sithi yenze njani ngesiZulu yenzani iyabhibhidla because ayizwakala into eyikhulumayo but uyayizwa yona ukuthi iyakhuluma because izibe serious nasebusweni uzabe serious ke ukhona lento afuna ukisho but that is to babble. Uyamuzwa ukuthi ufuna ukukhuluma. It's Jeremy la is trying to show us how difficult it is to learn how to speak, especially a different language. Okay, and then he even talks about the tongues knot. Ifindo, angithi a tongues knot. Ifindo not ifindo. Ifindo fanele wenze njani uliqaqe angithi ukuze ukwazi ukuthi mhlawumbe uqaqe ifindo lesicathulo fanele usigqoke isicathulo whatever. So nalana futhi i-tongues knot lana kushuthi lana akulona ifindo lentambo but ifindo lolimi. The tongues knot. In other words, ulimi lakho lubophekile. Luboshwa yini? Why is it knotted? Because kusho ukuthini you are unable to speak. In other words is the inability to say anything. Akukhulumeki. Why kungakhulumeki? Because you don't know the language. So kuchaza ukuthini la? It's kusho ukuthini nje in simpler terms kusho ukuthi it is very difficult. Kunzima ukufunda ini to learn a new language. Just as it is difficult to untie a knot. Ukufunda a new language is as difficult as it is to untie a knot. Ukufunda language entsha kufana nokuba difficult. Uyintambo ngempela mayibophekile, it's very difficult ukuthi uyiqaqe. All right. Azaqhubeke lapho ku line 6. Athi a sense of the stoniness of these stones. Mophindele emuva ngikhulume nge-river, akhuluma ngama-stones, akhuluma nge-land, ngaze akhuluma ngama-wagon trails. Lawe sazowafica la. Nango-ke ama-stones yiki, sesidlulile kwi-land, usekhuluma ngamatshe la, the stones. Right. He says a sense of the stoniness of these stones. Kuchaza ukuthini lana, it is the words used in these lines. Akhuluma ngani? They represent the beginning of a person learning a new language. Nangu umuntu uyazama ukufunda. Beginning of umuntu, of a person. Wenzani lo muntu? He or she is learning a new language. Ufunda a language that is strange to him. A language angayazi. But topic iti to learn how to speak. Okay, uma uzofunda language entsha yinde, i-process yinde, it is lengthy. Koqala nje, i-process is lengthy. Yinde. Okwesibili futhi it is difficult. Why is it difficult? Because phela i-language that is strange to you awuyazi, it becomes difficult. Okoqala, it is lengthy and it's also a difficult process. And then mangabe i-length and difficult ibiza ukuthini? Ibiza ukuthi phela lo muntu ofundayo ke needs ukuthi abe njani? Abe patient. What is to be patient? Patient means fanele phela wenze njani? Ubekezele, because it's a process. It says something that ongayazi, something that is unique, ongayijwayele. So it's difficult, it is lengthy. If it is lengthy, it takes time. Awuthi nje uvuka overnight usuyayazi language. So it's difficult, it is lengthy. Kubizwa ukuthini ke wena? You have to be patient. Patient ukhulume lapha ngama-stones. He says a sense of the stoniness of these stones. These stones, or lana, it's a metaphor. Ukhuluma ngama-words la, but wabiza ngani ngama-stones. Uyabona itshe mangabe itshe nje linto eqinile, but mangabe fanele if it has to be weathered, liqhekezwe, it's not something that is easy. Kuye kubizwa ukuthi kuze kubizwe odalmede baqhumise lelo tshe ukuze likwazi ukuhlaza, because linto eqinile. So even the language uyifanisa na these stones. He says it is the stoniness. Kune alliteration lapha. There's a repetition sound ka S. The sense of the stoniness of these stones. Alliteration. Kune repetition lapha of the S sound. Repetition of the consonant S sound. And then ukhombisana la how difficult it is to learn a new language. It is lengthy. It is difficult. But uzoyifanisa like you are crumbling a stone. Uzama ukuthi uhlephule itshe. And then we compare the different ways in which the stone is cut or weathered. As you cut the stone, it is difficult as in learning the new language. Okay, bese siya lapha ku line 7. He says a stoniness of these stones from which all the words are cut. In other words, it's like ama-words lawa owakhulumayo athathwe from these stones. Ukhulume nge-note lapha in the tongue ukuthi kunzima qaqeka kolimi. As kunzima qaqeka kolimi, but wonke all these words are cut from this stone. Shuthi wonke lamagama fanele asuswa kuphi kule stone. So ufuna ukuthini lana? This it compares the way in which the speaker acknowledges that all languages, zonke izilimi, different languages. And then wabiza ngama-tongue. Angithi ama-tongue ilimi, tongue ulimi. But ama-tongues, they come from one hard stone. It's like wonke lama languages. Nanti itshe lalikhulu, lakheshul. As it is weathered, lakheshul. Uphisi, angithi ngathi ushaya itshe. Uyaqhasha uphisa owodwa ushona le, uyaqhasha omunye ushona le, uyaqhasha omunye ushona le. As it is weathered, njoba liqhasha shona le nale, it is like njoba qhasha lo phisi, it's another language. Qhasha lo munye, it's another language. Qhasha lo munye, it's a language. That is why lapha he says, line 6 and 7, he says a sense of the stoniness of these stones from which all these words are cut. It's like a language suka kulesi stone. Qhasha la uphisi is different languages. Okay, and then he says to trace, line 8, to trace with the tongue, work on trails, work on trails. Ake ngichazela mawufunda ma subjects akho ahlukene u7 mhlamba u8 angazwenza amangaki. Kodwa kunalento ukuthi the different subjects owafunda esikoleni they interlink. What do I mean? Kukhona ukuxhumana. Uyabona nje njengamanje sikhuluma ama-stones, sesikhuluma ama-work on trails, sifunda isingisi la ngithi it's English. But when we talk about work on trails, sasobuyela lapha ku-Great Trek when the 4 trekkers befika la eSouth Africa ngo-1652 uYan van Riebeeck. Umfundi wehistory uyazi ukuthi ngikhuluma ngani. That is why ngithi ama subjects ethu they interlink. Sikhuluma ngama-stones la, the weathering of stones. Umfundi we-geography uyabona ukuthi kuya interlink. Ngeke ukuthi hayi mina ngifunda isingisi kuphela ngiyazi history, nansi iyangena la. Hayi mina ngifunda isingisi kuphela ngiyazi geography, nansi iyangena la. When you talk about the weathering of rocks and when you talk about the work on trails, uthi la ku line 8 he says to trace with the tongue, work on trails, saying the suffix of their eggs in kale, pen, fontaine, in watery names that confirm the dryness of their ways. Okay, ma work on trails. I-wagon inqola oyidonsayo. As uyidonsa inqola, ihamba ishiya ini, ihamba ishiya ama-trails, she's ihamba ishiya ama-marks. So it's the path, as uyidonsa inqola is the path made by the wheels. Angithi njengoba uyidonsa vele inani inamasondo. It's the path made by the wheels of the wagon, of leyo nqola. It can be in the sand. That is the literal meaning. Ilento nje yenzeka vele mawudonsa inqola nani nazi sadlala inqola zocingo as uyidonsa ishiya in, it leaves the path made by the wheels. Uyabona ukuthi inqola ihambela angithi. So this is the literal meaning. Isho lento engishoyo, but figuratively mase sibheka ke the figurative meaning ukuthi figuratively chaza ukuthini kahle kahle. Ikhuluma nge-movement figuratively. This is literal ukuthi, and when we talk about the marks that are left by the wagon, but mase sikhuluma nge-figurative meaning ekhonsena ke le language esikhuluma ngayo to learn how to speak. Sikhuluma ngani la? Sikhuluma ngokuthi it refers to the movement of the tongue. Angithi i-tongue plays a very important role ekhulumeni. Before nje ukhulume fanele ulimi lakho lusebenze. Okay, so figuratively kusho ukuthini? Angithi la sikhuluma ngama-work on trails as they move inqola, but in this case figuratively ukhuluma ngani? Nge-movement of the tongue. The movement of the tongue as you speak. It refers to the movement of the tongue in the mouth, emlonyeni, when words are formed. So figuratively ukhuluma movement of the tongue. Movement of the tongue in the mouth as you speak. Movement of the tongue in the mouth as you speak. So ngekathi ukhuluma vele ulimi it has to move of the tongue in the mouth as you speak. So ukufanisa nani ne-work on trail le edonswa inqola enhlabathini. So ulana i-process le yolimi as you speak uyicomparishe ne-movement yama-work on trails as wadonsa enhlabathini. Okay, let's look at uline 9. Uline 9 useyasho ke la uthi you are saying the suffix of their eggs in kale, pen and fontaine. Okay, khulume ngo suffix, right? Wakhuluma ngama eggs. This suffix kuma words khona prefix. Angithi language khona suffix. I-suffix uyajobelele egcineni. Ayi ngithi nje uma ngenzele example improve igama lelo. And then mawusuthi improvement. No ment is a suffix. Ojoyine kuphi ku improve. Nalana kukhulume ngama suffixes. Ama suffix owabala. Wathi ukale, wathi upen, wathi ufontaine. Le hyphen lapha eqaleni isho ukuthi khona igama elingala le uqedele lelo gama. All right. Uthini la? In watery names. Angithi ngenkathi when the foreign trekkers came la eSouth Africa. Babehamba ngeinqola, behamba ngamahashi and all, behamba bedonsa inqola. And then bahambe phatha ukudla uthola ukuthi bayoma. They become thirsty, fanele bathole la kuthola khona amanzi. Amanzi ukuze kufanele ukuthi mhlambe bambe endaweni ethize ukuze kuphuma amanzi. And then as they were moving, babethi mabethola leyo ndawo bayiqambe igama. You understand? Bayinika igama njengoba ubona labo fontaine, okale and pen. Okay, kanjani? In watery names, this confirms the dryness of their ways. Angithi njengoba babehamba ama-foreign trekkers kokuthola ukuthi mhlawumbe bahambe endaweni ewugwadule dry desert, but bazokoma phela, they need to find water, and amanzi wathola kuphi vele ngokumba, and then uthola ukuthi aqhamuka la ngaphansi. So what happened in watery names, this confirms the dryness of their ways. They used, so but what they would do, they would use watery names. And then they would use the watery names for towns or places. They would use watery names for towns and places. Watery names, because abayazi by naming the abayazi vel, they would use watery names for towns and also places. Sizowathola ukuthi imaphi la watery names, because they were always trying to find water. Bayoma badinga manzi, then mabethola lawo manzi bayayiqamba leyo ndawo in the dry areas through which they were traveling. And then these were difficult to pronounce. You understand? Good, difficult to pronounce. That is why kulumama aches lab. When you are aching, suke uzwa ini ubuhlungu. It talks about aches because these words were difficult for them. Difficult for them to kwenze njani ukuthi bawakhulume, to pronounce. Sibuyela lapha to learn how to speak. So these words were difficult for them to pronounce because they are not used to the area, they are not used to the language. Okay, aches refers to the struggle. A struggle that they had. Ikhuluma ngani aches, ache into ebuhlungu. When you have a toothache, kusuke ubuhlungu ini izinyo, stomach ache kusuke ubuhlungu ini isisu. So when he talks about aches, ukhuluma ngani, it refers to the struggle they had, the struggle they had. They had to find water. The struggle they had to find water. Ukuthi bakwazi ukuphuza. It was an ache to them. In the context of the poem, ikhuluma ngani context to learn how to speak. It refers to the struggle to learn how to speak a new language. Okay, so it means learning to speak a new language. Kuyafana naleya difficult ababehlangana nayo as they were traveling. All right. Line 9:12, he says, to visit the places of occlusion or the leak in a flay bank dawn. Occlusion, kunegama lapha occlusion. Usually leli gama occlusion silithola when we go to the dentist. Uba nokwaya ukukhipha izinyo or waphathwa izinyo or kanjani. Occlusion mawuya ku dentist bafike bakujova ngithi ngathi bekujova ngeke uze ujove ubheke phansi, fanele ubheke phezulu. Ulele ubheke phezulu, khona lo muntu lokho ekusiza efaka la into ukuthi ungablockeki, ungachokeki. Lobesusa la amanzi ngathi be clean or whatever. And then mawuke kwafika la entanyeni awukwazi ukuphefumula, that is occlusion because amanzi eza la aya block. So in dentistry occlusion masikhuluma nge-dentist kukhulunywa nge-obstruction of the breath passage. Akusaphefumuleki nje ubheke phezulu nje. Or nalapho ke i-occlusion la is la kukhulunywa ngani articulation of the speech or sound. It's like an occlusion engathi khona into ekuvimbile la. Why ikuvimbile? Because it is difficult to speak the language. Awukwazi ukuyikhuluma. That is ibuyela lapha to learn how to speak. It is also you can say it is also the bringing of the opposite surfaces of the teeth or of the jaws into contact. Angithi ngathi uzama ukukhuluma kuyafana nokuthi nangu ubheke phezulu la akhulumeki because ubheke phezulu ukhipha izinyo uya clean. So kuyafana kwinto efanayo. Ngithe kuyacishe kuhlangana ama subjects they interlink. Kungena i-geography la as well ngeplane, indawo eplane, indawo flat. engekho ayinawo amazombe and all that. Okay, nalana ke ukhuluma kwi-poem context kwenzekani la. Some aspects of the language require thorough involvement and understanding. Utela to visit the places of occlusion or the leak in a flay bank dawn. Kwi-poem context kushuthi some of the aspects of the language afuna in. Some aspects of the language afuna wena ube ne-thorough involvement ne-understanding. Awukwazi ukuthi nje uzobe kufanele uhlale phansi ukwazi uyifunde language, ukwazi uyikhuluma kahle, ukwazi yonke into yakhona. Okay. Line 14 to 16 he says, to bury my mouth in the pit of your arm. Pit of the arm, armpit, ikwapa. To bury my mouth in the pit of your arm, in that planetarium. Ufaka kanjani umlomo ekhwapheni lomuntu? Uchaza ukuthini la? To bury my mouth in the pit of your arm. What does that mean? Burying his mouth in the armpit. Lana pit of your arm. It's not an armpit, but ukhuluma ngani? Akakhulumi ngekhwapha. He's talking about the land. Umhlaba. He says burying his mouth in the armpit of the land. Uchaza ukuthini la? He is expressing his desire, ukulangazelela kwakhe, to embrace the language of this land in spite of its hardships. Angithi uyazi ukuthi kunzima ukuyikhuluma. And when he says to bury my mouth in the pit of your arm, ufuna ukuthini la? He says he's expressing his desire. Ukhombisa la ukulangazelela. He is expressing his desire. It desire yani le desire to embrace ukuthi ayikhulume le language, to embrace the language, akulula. It is difficult, yes, because we are funda, but he says to bury my arm is expressing his desire to embrace the language. And then in language it comes with the hardships, the language speaking, and also ama-hardships lawa ahlangabezana nawo. But ekugcineni ngoba une-determination uzokwenza njani? Uzoyifunda le language. So ulana ukhuluma ngani? Ukhuluma ngomuntu, the person owenze njani? Who is experiencing closeness to his country and its language. So yena uzama ukusondela la ukuthi I want to be close to my country. I want to speak this language. And it brings him to a better understanding yani, of its unique qualities. Ukuthi yes, then I can speak the language. Yes, every language is unique and every individual is unique. But he says to bury my mouth in the pit of your arm, in that planetarium. So this pit of the arm, he's talking about the land, expressing his desire to embrace the language and also to be part of this land. In that planetarium, pectoral beginning to the nub of time, down there, close to the water table, to feel the full moon as it drums at the back of my throat, its cow-skinned vowel. Utinla. Khuluma nge-water table. He talks about the water table. Utin nge-water table. He says, down there, close, lapha phansi, down there close to the water table. Water table la ukhuluma ngani? He says down there. Sithe when the field trekkers came, bafuna amanzi awathole emoyeni. Yes, mhlambe ke makwenza precipitation nani nemvula, but bona they had to dig. Bafanele bambe ukuze kuphuma amanzi. So mayikhuluma nge-water table ukhuluma ngamanzi underground. Laba kufanele ukuthi badige khona. underground water la kufanele bahambe khona ukuze kuphume ini amanzi. So ufuna ukuthini la uthi when you are close to the water table you are close to the earth. Water table uma usudikile la you are close to the water table, it means you are close to the earth. So when you are close to the earth, it means you are in touch with your country. You are close to the earth, you are in touch with your country. Ukubona abantu mhlambe if they've been away for a long time mhlambe ezweni labo, when they get off the aeroplane, the first thing that they do, they bayaguqa baqabule, then they kiss the ground to say, I'm back to my land, I'm back to my motherland. The Nalanage is showing a closeness to the ground. Uguti ngisekhaya. All right. Bese ke ekhuluma la ethi go line 18 une drum. The full moon as it drums at the back of my throat. The full moon as it drums. The full moon as it drums. When you beat the drums, ama drums angithi yazi uthi ushama drums. The full moon as it drums. Personification la again. Ikwenzekani la? The full moon as it drums at the back of my throat. The full moon as it drums at the back of my throat. Angithi sikhulume ngetongue. The full moon at the back of my throat. Can moon be inside your throat? No. Ukhuluma ngani la? It's talking about the sounds. Okay, the drums with us as Africans. Communicate ngama drums. Maybe they want to send a message. You beat the drums. Maybe a special occasion, people beat the drums. Dance for different cultures or different occasions. Okay, Lanage, he says, line 18, the full moon as it drums at the back of my throat. What is this drums? It is the sounds of the African continent. The drums are the sounds of the African continent. We beat ama drums angithi vele siyawasha ama drums. Okay. Kuchaza ukuthini? It may be the start of revealing the location of the land. So it may be the start of the revealing of the location of the land. Okay. Kanjani? Chaza ukuthini lokho? Okay. If the moon and the sounds of African are familiar, it is clear to you. In other words, you are clear, you are learning. Angithi uthelana the full moon as it drums at the back of my throat. At the back of his throat. Kusho ukuthi kwenzekani la at the back of his throat? He is trying to speak. Uyazama ukwenza njani? Uzama ukwenza njani? Ukhuluma. The full moon as it drums at the back of my throat. Kusho ukuthini? I-throat la. It's a reference to the tongue. Angithi ulimi liqala lapha. Phakathi lapha ngemuva. So this is literal because as it drums akakhulumi ngemoon like moon as inyanga, but ukhuluma the way that you speak as it drums at the back of my throat because it start there lapha with throat and then usiyazama wenze njani. He is trying to speak. It's a reference to the tongue. It makes deep consonant sounds like the drum. Angithi drum nayiba ngumsindo mawuyibhitha mawuyishaya. Now as it starts, as you start to speak, it's like it starts there at the back of your tongue, and then when zenjani you are speaking. When zenjani usuyaqala usuyakhuluma, but it starts there. All right, lapha kwi-tongue. And lapha kwi-throat, I mean at the back of my throat. Usethi lapha line 20, it's cow-skinned vowel. Cow skin, we call it a hide, isikhumba senkomo. But utila, it's cow-skinned vowel. To write a poem with words like I'm telling you. Sekwenzekani la? And then angithi sikhulume nge-drum. I-drum, the African drum, yenziwa ngani? Kufike kube isigubhu. Asikho isigubhu esingenayo esingamboziwe nge-cow hide. Shuthi simbozwa ngani? Simbozwa ngesikhumba. sikhumba senkomo, and then usiyakwazi ukuthi ushaye. So lana njoba ethi it's cow skinned vowel. Angithi ukhuluma nge-drum, but akakhulumi nge-drum per se, ukhuluma ngani about the sound that comes at the back of your throat. So that is why ukhuluma nge-cow skinned vowel. It's cow skinned because as you beat the drum, i-drum ikavarishe ngani, ikavarishe nge-cow skin, ikavarishe nge-hide. We call it the hide ngesingisi. Uthi cow hide drum of African culture. Comparison is compared with a vowel formed. Okay. It is compared to a vowel. It is compared to a vowel that is formed at the back of your throat. That is formed at the back of your throat. It's like you're beating the drum, but you are not beating the drum per se. Awushayi yona drum, but wenze njani? Uyakhuluma. You are trying to do what? To speak. It shows that amagama, the words, maswakhuluma, kusho ukuthini? It shows that the words are formed. They are formed differently in the various languages. Words, they are formed differently. Words are formed differently for different languages. No language is the same. Words are formed differently for different languages because ahlukene. Kanjani na? This shows that words are formed differently in the various languages or cultures. Kanjani? Just like different sounds that are produced by an African drum beat. Moshayi drum beat, you can ngavela le sound uphinde ushaye iphumele. Kuyafana nomuntu okhulumayo. Ama words that are formed, they are different from for different. It's a different word for different languages. It's a different word for different cultures. It's like you're beating the drum. The sound of beating is not the same. Kune sound esheshayo, kune sound ekhala kancane, and then but as you beat the drum, it conveys the message. Uyayithola wena imessage ukuthi kwenzekani ngale drum. Ifanele kusheshe fanele kanje kancane nalapha ke uthi ke nama words, they are formed kanjalo. It's like you are beating the drum. That is why it's the full moon as it drums at the back of my throat. It's cow skinned vowel. And then bese athi ku line 20, to write a poem with words like I'm telling you. Okay, we say introduce la. Words like I'm telling you, stompy, stick fast, holoven, shongololo, just boom bang, just to understand the least inflections. So usenzani la. Now he is trying to introduce a list. He's giving us a list of typical what? South African languages. Ahlukene phela. Njobe khuluma ngosongololo nje, no drum, no band. He's showing us a different a list of typical languages esiwakhulumayo as South Africans. Njengoba shithi I'm telling you, ekse angithi mawukhuluma uyahlanga ukuthi ngiyakutshela, ekse ngiyakutshela usufaka islang lapho. Those are the I'm telling you is a slang in South Africa. I'm telling you, ekse ngiyakutshela. So it is a slang. Slang is I'm telling you, ekse it's Afrikaans angithi. Osongololo is a songololo is a millipede. Shongololo is a millipede. Shongololo limnyama li nenyawe iningi, yes. And then Lana always points out attention to the language used by people he is trying to communicate with. Laba abantu ahlangana nabo bakhuluma ilimi ehlukene. So naye fanele azama ukuthi enzani asifithe in. Ukuthi mayithi I'm telling you, akhulume ngostompi. Istompi is an Afrikaans word referring to a short person, stomping. Or istompi futhi can be a stompy a cigarette. Magadubem, then mosu lasha isnam less. It's called a stompy. Okay? And then he says, Stompy, stick fast, Goloven. Or stick fast is also in Afrikaans, it means it's a direct translation. So lana na is trying to feature himself ukuthi fanele akwazi ukuthi athi learn the language, but uzoyifunda kanjani ngokuthi awazi asikhulume lesifana kalo, asikhulume these slang words or stompy or songololo, just to understand the least inflections. And then the least inflections, my inflections is the inflections ukhuluma ngani la, akhulume ngo quarter past 5 past, quarter past lana isizulu lesi, quarter past 5, that is quarter past 5 and all. So lana usaqhubeka ke uzama ukufunda ilanguage. We have come to the end of the lesson. Sizoqhubeka with the poem next week because we haven't finished. Then usobe sithi get through to it ke manje, where we're trying to find the themes, the tones and all that. But for now, we've come to the end of our lesson. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. See you same time, same place next week. Thank you so much.
Siyathemba nifunde kahle nasithokozela isifundo sethu sanamhlanje enisethulelwe ngezilokotho ezinhle Ithala libambisene neGoDigitalSA Foundation. Thamelani ke futhi esilandelayo ngesikhathi sifanayo, ningakhohlwa ukumema nabanye abafundi bebanga le-12 ukuze nabo basizakale kulolu hlelo. Uma ninemibuzo noma nifisa ukuxhumana nathi, ningasithinta ngokufaka imibuzo yenu kwinombolo yethu ye-WhatsApp ethi 068 151 1072. Mfundi, ungakhohlwa ukubhala isifundo obuza ngaso ngaphambi kokubhala umbuzo wakho. Angiyiphinde inamba yethu 068 151 1072. Siyabonga.